13 Franklin City Schools Board of Education regular meeting. Mr. Dupre, please call the roll.
Mr. Fleming.
Here.
Mr. Nimitz.
Present.
Mrs. Raleigh.
Here.
Mr. Sizemore.
Here.
Mrs. Wolfenbarger.
Here. Now you'll all join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next up, we have adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions? I have none. The chair will entertain a motion to adopt as presented. Second. Mr. Nipper and Mrs. Raleigh. Mr. Dupre.
Mr. Nimitz.
Yes.
Mrs. Raleigh.
Yes.
Mr. Fleming.
Yes.
Mr. Sizemore.
Yes.
Mrs. Wolfenbarger.
Yes. All right, and next we have approval of the November 23rd regular session meeting minutes. Any discussion or questions? Chair will entertain a motion to approve. Mr. Sizemore, and second. Mr. Fleming. Mr. Dupre.
Mr. Sizemore.
Yes.
Mr. Fleming.
Yes.
Mr. Nimitz.
Yes.
Mrs. Raleigh.
Yes.
Mrs. Wolfenbarger.
Yes. All right, next up, we have recognition of guests and public participation. And please note the president reserves the right to limit time on those comments. All right, hearing none, we'll move on to Charlie Janigan and the presentation from Detail and Bulk.
Thank you. Awesome. Thanks.
All right, thanks for having me and more updates on what's going on with the project. So the big thing today really is to talk about setting up the schedule for the CMR selection, construction management at risk is the way we will be procuring the construction services. There is an RFQ, request for qualifications. It's on the street right now, it's out there for 30 days. Those are due to the district, January 6th, 2021. The board will get those on the January 11th meeting, where you will be able to begin to review those. We've probably had about 5 or 6 companies already reach out on that, so there'll be a handful. The submittals will also be submitted in digital copy. If you want to clarify, we did the RFQ did say paper and digital, but I think we're clarifying it just to say digital for the sake of you guys carrying around books. At the January 18th meeting, you will create a short list. So there'll be a ranking methodology, and you guys will score, rank, and you will have a short list advertised on January 18th. In the meantime, we have created an RFP, which is a request for proposal where they start to provide pricing. That will go out January 19th, the next day. One of the things we do need to do is to schedule site visits. We will show the builders really the existing high school. We'll walk through it, see the existing conditions. They can start to explore and understand the scope. And then we'll probably walk the site back here again so they can see really where the building's going to be built. After that, one of the things we do probably on the same day, we do something called a pre-proposal meeting. This is, think of it as a reverse interview. So some folks from the district, usually the architect participates. We sit in a room and we give the shortlisted construction managers about 30 minutes to ask us questions. And so we just sit there and say, bring it on, and they start asking questions. Usually we do that in the afternoon of the day of the tours, just because the ideas are fresh. We try to limit that where it's not an interview format, where sometimes some companies want to come in and start doing their routines. This is here for Q&A, that's it. So it's another step that's new to you guys. From there, they will then generate the total proposal for the job. They will provide kind of a site logistics plan, schedule of how they might see the project unfold. And that is due February 3rd. So that's a pretty quick turnaround now from the 19th to the 3rd. That will be a pretty comprehensive package. Those companies will put 10, 15 people on producing that. So it's a lot of intel that we will get through that process. We will then hold interviews on the 8th So that will be an interview format similar to what the architecture interview was. Each team will come in 30 minutes or so, and then 15 minutes of questions from the board. And then from there, it's the board can rank, and you will also have pricing from them. The pricing that you get from them is their services for basically running the project for the duration of what we have. It's for their people. We won't see pricing for concrete. We won't see pricing for windows. It's pricing for people. And I will warn you, there's a pretty good sized range of what we typically see. They're never really lined up. So there is some gaps there in case we need to do some clarifications. Really from the 3rd to the 8th, there could be some clarifications, and then there might be some clarifications from the 8th to the 22nd, just so we can get apples to apples comparison lined up. So this has all been laid out with Dennis Britton. They are the ones, ultimately giving the documents that the state produces. They're modifying for Franklin, and then they're being issued. Part 2 is the owner's agent schedule. That is out right now. Those are due on January 6th, the same day as BCM. Hopefully Google doesn't go down that day like it did today, and emails will come through. Those will just be qualifications, and those are due on, I'm sorry, we have it where the board can approve that and rate that entity or whoever it is by January 11th. That date is set so that the owner's agent can also be a part of this process here. Additional things on setting up a team. We've discussed the commissioning agent. The state of Ohio has pre-qualified this. So that's a much easier selection process. We'll probably do it January, February. It's probably the first thing the owner's agent will do is call those folks, gather their information. It's usually quick meetings, sometimes it's Zoom meetings, and that team will be brought on board. Their rate is usually, I think it might be 50 cents a square foot is what they charge. There's a pretty fixed rate of what they are. So they're all, for the most part, very similar. The state actually has so you plug in. I'm sorry, they have a spreadsheet. You plug in the area. That's what it is. So, setting up design teams. That's going to be an effort that needs to happen fairly soon. Or we think in January we can probably start to meet with the high school building design team. So one of the things I want to do this week with Dr. Sanders to get an actual date picked and start to get that team set up. Again, this is principals, teachers, staff, students, probably no more than 20 to 30 people total with that represent various disciplines. And again, that team will look at the functionality of how the building is laid out. Are we going to do 2 stories or 3 stories? Are we going to do all 1 story? They will be the group that kind of looks at all those parts and pieces. From there, the community design team can also start to be assembled, and we can pick a date. I like to kind of lag the community design team after the building design team, just because the building design team will do things and the community design team, and we take that feedback back to the office and use it, within our team. This group will be primarily parents, residents, a lot of CAT team people. If we did the CAT team, if you wanted to invite a lot of those folks to see if they want to continue to participate. That's a consistent thing that we see. This group really looks more at the site arrangement. How will the building site sit on the site? Where exactly is the front door? Where will deliveries be made? Where do we think we would have parking? So that seems to lag a little bit because we may have not gone that far down the path with the building design team. So that's why we kind of lag that group. That team also looks at, what does the building look like? Is it brown brick? Is it gray brick? Is it red brick? Is it purple? Whatever. So they also look at it just from the community side. And then finally, the other thing we've talked about is the community forum. We will have community forums. Those are open forums to anyone to come and see, to provide feedback. We want to make sure that from parents to staff to students to citizens all throughout the district, that they get to provide feedback on the designs. So we started the high school program requirements. We've had a couple of meetings with Kelly from. We're getting really close. We've got classroom counts. We've got the gymnasium sizes. One of the exercises last week is really looking the gym sizes and the court sizes. When we met with her, she says, oh, we want the same size court. I said, you better go check, because I know your court's probably 80 square feet. And she came back, she said, no, we want the 90 square foot. That's a consistent same thing we see with folks. They want the bigger gyms because it helps prep the kids who want to potentially take the next step in high school sports. The survey started back in November. They've been mapped, and they are doing their magic back at their office, and they think by the end of this week, I'll have a CAD file that shows a lot of the topography and the utilities for this site and also for the high school site. That is a contract that goes for us, and then we sub it out to a civil engineer. The drawdown schedule, the initial draft was sent to Mr. Drew Frey a few weeks ago. He has that, and he's working with bond counsel and Fifth Third Bank for all those proper things to fall in place. The last thing I want to show is just the schedule. So this is a schedule that I just keep adding more and more information to it. So we are right here where the high school design has started. We're moving forward. Programming is 4 weeks. Schematic design, really, we could potentially start laying things out here soon. So we start with dolls. We start with little pieces. How many classrooms are we going to have? How will they be arranged? You can see the various phases. Oops, there's me touching the screen again. So then high school construction will be, we know there's a desire to start summer of 2021 with the site work. The junior high design is kind of in flux. When exactly can we start that? And it can float. It could start in April if we wanted to, or it could lag later next year. But for the excitement, we might want to start it this year, just while people are in school. And before you dismiss for the year. So April, May is a good time for us to potentially start that. One of the things we've started to talk about is if high school construction is going on here, and if we are taking down the gymnasium and the existing junior high, you have to put those kids in somewhere. So one of the things I have on here is modular trailers at the high school campus. We are going to have trailers. It's in the budget. And we've talked about a couple scenarios, and we talked about this last week of having an option. One is to shift kindergarten to the elementaries. So kindergarten's here. Kindergarten would go to the elementaries. This building has to come down too at some point, so we have to put this into the phase. 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade would all then go on trailers at the high school. So you'd be running 6 through 12 at the high school, all in trailers. A lot of trailers. That's good for when we're down to here, when we're running the high school. So that's why this bar is so long, because we're going to be having kids there for a long time, a couple of years. Keep preschool at Hampton Bennett, and then keep admin. So maybe that can be consolidated. Just a portion of this building could be up and running. We got to get to the logistics of how that all happens. Option 2, which is one that we discussed, is shift kindergarten to the elementaries and add a 6th grade trailer to the elementaries. That's a scenario where we kind of disperse the trailers. It would disperse the demand on the kitchen at the high school. So you may have a different kitchen sequence at the other schools. They would have a burden of having a few more students, but the high school wouldn't be picking up 3 grades, it'd be picking up 2 grades. 7th and 8th grade at the high school, and then keep preschool at Hampton Bennett in the admin. So there's a lot of parts that we have here, and we're in the parts of just starting to move cups around. How do we fit? Do we do it like this, or do we do it like that? So this was a scenario that was discussed last week, and then specifically the junior high construction. If you're going to have trailers here, where you're going to have junior high kids here, we want to really kind of see the opportunity to start some of this work summer 2022, where we could. You're going to have your CM on board. We're going to be fairly done with the documents. Let's do some phased work here. Then when the high school's done, you're going to have a whole lot of area open, because you've got 9 through 12 now over here at their new school. So you keep the trailers there, and let's say you do pick that route where it's just 2 grade levels, you could then keep those kids there and start to do a logistics exercise of swinging the construction into chunks throughout that year period. So when you think about the renovation of an operating high school, it's going to turn into a junior high, we're just going to do it in chunks. But having the trailers there is really nice, because it gives you the ability to kind of swing kids in and around. And as it parts open, you can move those kids into those sections. So anyway, that's a lot of logistics. That's going to have more, as more information comes about, as we start to, chunk up the current high school into a new plan, we'll determine that. But this was something that we discussed last week. We had a core team meeting last week, and I graphically put this up just so we can all see how that unfolds. So questions on that?
Now I like option two.
I was gonna say, yeah, I don't know that.
Okay.
And transportation wise, everybody's books.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other factor is transportation. So, yeah, I mean, option two, I think disperses it. When you think of a high school run and all the food service to be a 6 through 12 compared to a 7 through 12, and also just that age range. I've got a 6th grader at home. He's kind of still a little kid. You want him at the high school grade. 7th grader, you start to grow. Well, a little bit. So it just gives you options, and we're not married to this yet, but my point is that if we're going to be doing some of this stuff next summer, these decisions are going to need to be made fairly soon, so we can start getting the plan and putting it in action. Putting a trailer design we don't just drop it out of the sky. It takes a good 30, 60 days to come up with the plan. We have to have bathrooms, egress, ADA. They have to hook up to the fire alarm, paging system, internet, electric. If we have bathrooms in them, we plumb them, drain them. So you got a permit from the county, so it's not a quick exercise. So, and that might all happen, to do that over the summer. To build all that sometimes takes 60 to 80 days. So that work might start June 1st and maybe be ready, June, July, August when you guys come back, August 15th. So.
Now, is there a permit process for that?
Yes, you got a permit. Yep. So.
Then will they give us a special, do you think, permit, because the trailers aren't allowed on them?
For education, we can do it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We have the annex. I don't know if they classify them as like a educational space or. if it's
Yeah.
different.
How much that's different because it's actually attached to the building.
That's what.
Yeah, I've got to have a county. I've yet to have a county say, no, they're not allowed.
Yeah, right. Doesn't have to say.
Yeah, I think Springboro's had them.
Okay,
In fact, I know Kings has them right now. Kings put them behind Benson Moore County.
okay.
Burns Elementary has about 6 classrooms behind.
Well, classrooms are different because like you said.
Yeah, classrooms are
They don't have
different.
septic or.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and they also do their temporary. They're maybe that's the classification. They're not under that.
Well, I didn't know if that's something you would have to start negotiating now. or-
We'll the conversations can start now because we know we're going to have them. So it's.
Yes,
So.
that might be something to lock down before January 1.
Yeah, yep.
This Dr. Sandra.
I've heard there might be some changes in leadership and we want to just make sure we
That might be something.
talk to the right folks. Yep. So what's coming? POR, like I said, we're playing tennis. We've gone back and forth with Kelly. How about this scenario? How about that scenario? And we're looking at the counts of how many people will be in the front reception? How much area do they need? So and when we have these meetings, it's not just me, it's other architects, it's an interior designer. And we've given Kelly ideas, well, you can do it this way or this, So she wants a really big office and a bathroom. Mike promised all that, so. Surveys, like I said, later this week, that's great to get that. We're actually ahead of schedule. Sometimes surveys start in January and snows, and then that messes up the ability to make the surveys. So we end up getting over in March. So I'm excited to get these by December. We did have our first core meeting, as I said, superintendent, treasurer, business manager, myself. That will grow as we go on, CM gets added, but that's kind of an ongoing check-in that we will have. And then again, between now and the next time I'm here, we will receive the owner's agent RFQs and CM qualifications, CO's qualifications. That was the last slide. So with that, questions, comments?
I have a question. I know I was I contacted Lori, and she was having, I think probably the same thing. Just, I mean, we've gone with like probably twice now, every time we come in, but on the next step, setting up the team,
Yes.
where does like the board fit in as far as kind of giving direction, overarching?
Since I'm gonna be here every other week, I'm going to be bringing you guys everything. And so if you guys can participate, usually a board would participate in community design teams.
We're saying a bullet in between those two.
Yeah, but I'm gonna be here. It's rare for me to present every single meeting. I'm going to. And so when I come and we do this exercise here with the building design team or an exercise here, I can come here and we can do that exercise here for you. If you guys want, or you could say, hey, this meeting will be more of a work session. Or you can save it for the end of the meeting. Or we can go from 5 to 6. It's up to you guys. So this is not a set plan. I'm completely willing to customize it to you.
I think we need to, I mean, there's gonna be, we can potentially do it at January 11 meeting, but then that would kick everything else down. So when in January would you be doing building design team? Because we're not looking at like so much functionality. We're looking at the overarching kind of.
So the building design team, that first meeting is really an intro. So if I met with that team, let's say the 4th or the 7th, here's Charlie, maybe, and here's Nick, I'll bring somebody else, maybe here's Jenny, that's an interior designer. This is what we do, and here is what our team is gonna do. And get to know these other people here, and then here's the PR. We're gonna look at it. You guys already saw a version. We're gonna have X amount of classes. We're gonna have an X amount of gym. So it's really getting a scope around their head, and then the first thing we might do is look at the site. So it's very entry level, that first meeting. So if we wanted to come here and start to for you guys at that January 11th meeting, have the POR and start to do an exercise where you can get your thoughts out of your head. One of the things we do when I explain like this is we'll cut the pieces out. I'll cut the pieces out of the classroom. And here's 26 little red squares. Arrange a school. Here's a gymnasium. Where does that fit? And so you guys can do that exercise yourself, or we could do it in 2 groups and stuff.
Well, it'd be nice, I think, to do with the building design team.
Yeah.
You know, has forethought
Well-
about instructional delivery, what is needed, what's required.
Yeah,
Not needed.
correct. That's the big thing that we try to do with that is when we do those exercises, we then 4, 6 groups, and then we say report out. And you'll find that for the most part, there's some consistent thought, but then there'll be a light bulb moment that somebody will say, hey, did we ever think about this? And it's like, oh yeah. So the team can kind of see that build upon the thought that comes from the effort.
But I would think report back, those things that the team does, we report it back to here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I take pictures of those exercises, we document them, and I can say, here's team 1, and this is their concept, and here's why, here's team 2, so that's another avenue. So, but I guess the point is if we're gonna be moving during in June, we have to, this is starting. No later in January 11th.
January 11th.
Yeah. Yeah, if I meet that week of the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, around there, like I said, it's gonna be more of it's formative. An hour of us talking about what we do and how we're gonna do it together as a group.
That addressing as far as where we kind of fit in. And I think we just want to make sure that we're involved.
Oh,
And, like,
you guys are gonna be heavily involved, probably more so, I mean, I'm already participating with you higher than what it was. Some boards I present at the end. Not joking, no, like, at the end of design, here it is, here's what the community, here's what the team came up with. And then
We're not that far. Well, and I guess it was my understanding that we were kind of looking at, obviously we wouldn't be involved in all of it, but, staff and students and principal, they're gonna have a really, in my opinion, probably a much better idea of kind of what logistically things are gonna look like and how it's gonna work and flow. Obviously, we can put in what we know.
Yeah,
It's been a while.
Kelly's already kind of freaking out because the image we did had the 3-story classroom. And she says, why did you do that? She said, every time we talk Zoom with her, she said, why are you doing that? And we said, well, it's just the same area, buildings take up a lot of footprint. And if we can condense it, this is an urban setting. And she said, there's so many stairs to go, but I might have to have a principal up there. So she's really wanting to start to move and land on this. Do we do 2 stories or 3 stories? When you think about it academically with all the classrooms, special ed, art, business, some of those programs you have, I think it's about 45,000 square feet total with hallways. So 45,000 square feet is 15, 15, and 15. You stack it 3 stories. Or you divide it, it's 22,000 and it's 2 floors. So you save 7,000 square feet. It's about, it's about the size of a gym. So that's not the biggest driver. You're not going to save that much area of your land. So she's thinking about just logistically, I think, oh boy, I got to get to the top 3rd floor. So. And those are the things, again, it hasn't been decided. We did it for the visual because we thought it might work. There's a chance, so let's show it. That's what that visual was. But now it's the time where it's really we need to figure it out.
So with all the extras, would be on the main floor because it's
Yeah.
then that just overloads the 2nd floor too.
Well, gymnasiums are tall. They're generally 2.5 stories, 3 stories tall. Cafeterias are tall.
Auditorium will be there.
Yeah, no auditorium there. Music rooms are generally taller. You want to put them in. So when you think about a school today, a modern school, we try to lay it out where you have your community spaces, shared spaces, gyms, media centers. Those are generally bigger volumes. And then all your kind of typical 1-story spaces that have maybe 9 to 10 foot ceilings, those can stack. So it's kind of your smaller spaces and then your bigger spaces when you really look at it in simple terms.
So we're not having an auditorium at the high school now.
Correct. So you're keeping the big one, the one you have here.
And the state does not pay for that.
Yeah, we are putting a stage in the cafeteria at the high school.
I was wondering if
Yeah.
would there need to be some type,
Yeah.
some type of.
Yeah, we are putting a stage. It's not what the typical stage. Kelly talked about it. It was like 1,800 square feet, which is big. This room here is probably about 750. So it's double this room plus a little more. That's for our big performing stage for our high school. And she says, well, if we're gonna have a performance, it's gonna be at the old high school. So we can make that be more than just a lecture or smaller student presentation rather than a show.
Right now, a little theater,
Yeah.
Like,
Because we had a little
like
theater
how
up there in
you
high
draw,
school.
like,
Yeah.
theater.
But you
That's what I'm talking
know, but in that cafeteria, there's the ability to put in rows of seats for a lecture or for a board meeting or,
Class meeting.
Yeah, like gathering of 400 students. Yeah.
I think January 11, we can put something on the agenda. And I know one of the things we talked about was overarching, like aesthetics of it, looking at designs, that's just a big picture thing. What things we like and what we like to see, really, what they're talking about is so much more.
Very detailed. Yeah. And one of the things we've done with districts is create a Pinterest board, believe it or not. Pinterest is just so easy. I never had a Pinterest account until one of my architects said, let's do it with the school. And people started pinning stuff and it was an easy way. I mean, that's my job right now. Our job is to get the thoughts out of your head and how you envision and what you want and document it so we can then make that be a vision. So Pinterest is a really easy way for you to say, I like this, I like this, I like this.
Well, even just when we did the architecture firm presentation, just having the books and everything that they gave us. I think there were a lot of ideas that just came out of that.
Yes.
I can't imagine going on Pinterest and just
Yeah,
Googling.
yeah,
The functionality is almost basically the same. I mean, as far as like a community area.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have so many gyms, so many, water rooms, weight rooms.
Yeah.
So.
it's schools have changed, but they haven't changed that much when you really break it down. Yeah. Okay, so January 11th, I'll plan to be here and we'll do some type of activity. And it may not be me running it, maybe some other folks.
Okay, yeah.
Or if COVID happens and somebody's sick, I might run it, whatever, I'll be here and we'll do something January 11th to kind of get the ball rolling, some feedback from the board. I'll just.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Any other questions?
No, sir, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, guys, and
Okay, we will go ahead and move on to the next item, which is FDA OC presentation. Teresa.
Thanks for letting us be on the agenda tonight. Yeah. Chuck and I have been meeting with Rodney and Dr. Sander. We're very concerned about the staff, the fatigue, stress levels, things like that. And so we came with a request that for December 1st and 22nd, we would like the board to consider that as remote learning days as opposed to face-to-face, because believe me that we are just as committed to face-to-face as you guys. But we're getting more quarantining and things like that. We want everybody healthy for Christmas. But we'd like to ask December 23rd to be a calamity day, so everyone's home. And then the week of January 4th, when we return, if we could possibly have that as remote learning for the entire district.
I'm sorry, can you see that last part again?
The week of January 4th through the 8th. We're just trying to get that 2-week window to kind of break it, kids are at home. Chuck, you want to add anything?
I just think the groups ain't gonna stop. You listen to the families. Extra 4 or 5 days and never know whether they are sick or not before they come back in the environment and bring it back with us. Would help tremendously. There's a lot of schools starting to do that. Start that extra week after to give more time for people to feel their illness if it is coming on.
And I mean, we have custodians out, but then we have aides who work all day, then they're doing custodian jobs. We have custodians who are working all day and cooks and then doing their shift and then they're driving a bus. And, we have teachers who haven't had planning periods in weeks and principals who haven't been in their office since the middle of November. So that's just what we'd like you to consider those days. We do not want to do remote full-time. We believe in kids learn best face-to-face. We're committed to that, just as you are. But we just would like to look out for the self-care of our teachers and our staff.
And on the classified side, the bus drivers are doubling up, the aides are doubling, tripling up. The janitors can't keep up. We got extra work at every cafeteria, kitchen staff overloaded them, extra cleaning. It's just, at one point, we're starting to have people break. These last 2 days was great. It gave us a break, but everyone came in and was able to breathe while they worked and did their jobs. But,
I am asking that when you consider it, if you could possibly add, elementary, it's very hard to go remote on a spur of the moment. So if they could have time to plan, that's the big thing. It's hard to teach a first grader or a kindergartner how to read remotely, but at least if they could take care of some business prior to the kids being out of school, that would be more beneficial. So I was at Hunter on Thursday, and one room had 80% of their kids on remote. Then I go to another one of the town, and they had one child. So we have to consider the elementary. They're just not ready, they don't have the devices, so.
and I mentioned to Rodney at the last meeting we talked, I don't know if Dr. Sanders was there or not, but it was that almost every bus driver drove, but about 5 or 6. And I mentioned, if kids have laptops that are broken down during that time, just call in, we can go grab the laptop for them, the drivers, because we got to be here. We can drive in a van, go pick up a laptop, bring it back, or maybe switch one out for the parents that can't get a kid in that don't have laptops, because that's the biggest thing. I go on the bus, I talk to the kids, and some say, my visual don't work, or my audio don't work, and I said, they just get it fixed. And they said, well, it was full, couldn't get in. So the small issues there that if we're going to be here to work, if we need to make sure the kids get information, or if the teacher needs something passed to the kids, papers or anything, that we're sitting over there, we're available.
Yeah, we want everyone to work, and Chuck even had mentioned that for those 2 weeks, to be agreeable to an MOU for,
Waiving the $10 an hour, so anybody can do whatever needs to be done to get things done.
just to take care of business, because our kids come first, but we are concerned about the staffing right now. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah, we will definitely think about that proposal, and obviously this is on our minds all the time. And it's, you know, it's trying to weigh, just what you said, I mean, staff, you know, where are they at? How many different positions are they covering, and everybody's juggling versus, you know, trying to get kids to school, and so we'll definitely.
Been nothing short of impressive what the staff has accomplished this year.
Everyone's been amazing.
It's been incredible.
They have.
That's why the
It's been-
23rd would be like a little carrot for them, like,
Yeah.
breathe.
Mhm.
Yeah, the people that haven't seen that stress because they've been doing such a good job, they've been doing whatever it takes and juggling and things like that, so it's on the outside, everything has gone so smoothly, it's been, I mean, it's been incredible.
It's been stressful for everyone, including the board.
Well, right, but I mean, but what I'm saying is just like when we flipped to remote, you know, I was really concerned about what that was going to look like when we were switching the day before. And, at least from the outside looking in, it went way better than I expected. I know that it was hard, and it's obviously not ideal, but.
I know the junior high and the high school attendance was great for remote, but they have the devices.
Yes.
Elementary can compensate when they have time.
Mhm.
No, I have not spoken to any elementary that would like to ever be full-time remote. But I am very pleased with their efforts, and I am very pleased that this district put face-to-face as a priority, and we appreciate that.
I do have one question. Is there any way to make accommodations for people who might, like I have people that work for me that have already exhausted all their time off. So if we go to this, they don't get paid. Because they have nothing to do with their kids.
There's a lot of things.
I mean, they don't know what to do with their kids. I mean, they talk to me at work, they call me at work. If we go remote, I don't have any more time off and we're not gonna pay them.
We've discussed, me and Ronnie, a few times in the.
I mean,
With the aides who don't have, like right now, our aides that have to work is in the tier 2, tier 3 classes. The other aides are just assisting. It's not hard to sit in a cafeteria with 30, 40 kids at each school if need be.
that's what I'm saying, for the ones who can't, that, you know.
If-
Because initially when it all started, we offered so many days off, and we would pay them to take care of, but then now everybody's exhausted all those, they've used all their PTO, they've used all their time off. And right now, they would be off, you know, because they can't leave their third grader home by themselves.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah, and most, since in this situation, you can't take them to your normal daycare person because they're already overwhelmed and they can't take anymore because they're not anticipating taking. That's one thing we can think of somebody,
Well,
I think that would make this look easier.
one reason that we're coming to you today is because we're afraid that if we don't break this bubble, kind of, Rodney has this great three-phase cleaning plan that we went over. We're afraid it's gonna get worse where we may have to be remote if we don't kind of, just need to take the time. We're not asking for 3 days off. I get it. Parents have to work. We need them to work. It's a lot easier for high school and middle school again. But I agree, we have to do something to help them, but right now, I don't know what all we could do.
Well, if we also thought about, you know, doing all the reading and stuff, the younger kids aren't as affected as much. Even the CDC and Dr. Fauci came out and said it's better for younger kids to get stay in school.
Oh,
And you go remote with the
Totally.
older kids.
And I hope that if we ever have to go that, the
Right.
elementaries would be last and elementaries would go. We need them to be there.
I mean,
I'm just
even thinking
asking
about the
for-
days you're talking about, would that be a situation that could work?
It's not giving the teachers or the other staff much of a break away from children to try to, because that's where we're trying, I know these parents and families are gonna get together. That's my big thing. I personally am not, I've chosen not to. I mean, as most of you know, I lost my husband in March and I've not even had a service for him because I'm choosing to follow the rules. But I think that's where I am, Bob. I'm just afraid that Christmas, family, they want to be with families. New Year's Eve, I'm afraid they're gonna go out.
The big worry is that we come back the first of the year. We come back on the 4th, I was the 4th, and then all heck breaks loose on the 10th, 11th, then they shut us down. And now, boom, now we gotta learn it quick. And it's more of the 2 days did pretty good, but there's a few
Well, I
flaws in
think
it.
essentially in a situation like that, we've done a really good job at taking care of a
Yeah.
situation like that.
I'm gonna tell you, this district is
And
far ahead.
going
of
2
many.
days and, you know, being able.
But if you told every Franklin parent, starting the 11th, the kids don't come to school that quick, at least I believe with a couple more training things like we did, it was 2 days in a sense, more of a training, let them figure out how they want to do it. It's not a, next month you got to cover your kids, it's a few days. Because,
I just feel like it's proactive.
Any other questions or discussion?
like I said, all the classified workers are still coming to work. So like I said, they're going to be here. And if something needs to be taken care of, we can do it, needs to be done. But it just, a lot of the staff needs breaks. They're overwhelmed, doubling up, tripling up jobs, and it ain't easy. You know?
Oh, I know, I do it every day.
Yeah, well, we're doing,
I just do it in a different situation than you do.
if you just listen to the radio in the morning between 5 and 8, it's mayhem trying to find out there's kids here, go back and get this kid, back and get this kid, well, I'm all the way over here. Because of, the busing situation, and you got subs on the bus, and you got janitors driving buses, you got maintenance driving buses. It's not including the staff inside the school. We appreciate it, thanks for listening.
Yeah, we appreciate all of you, that's each and every one of you. You guys have essentially been the wheel of education and what each of you do to take care of our students and
It takes every single one of us every day.
staff. You do, you're frontiers. And so we appreciate all of you. Tremendously, more than any of you realize. Because we're here basically for kids.
Oh, absolutely.
And everything you're doing, for their benefit. So we would really appreciate it.
Our dogs are in it with our kids, so we know.
Exactly.
We're
I mean, I have
navigating it.
I'm just like everyone else here, I have 2 grandchildren and my mother is my babysitter. She can't use a computer. So my husband's worked all day and we both have essential jobs, I work for the court system, it goes on, as Rachel knows. You don't stop. And so, and my husband's job is, if you don't work, you don't get paid. There's no sick days, there's no personal days. So he's doing, we have 2 days to do homework, he's doing homework.
I was very grateful for elementary. A lot of teachers videoed it, their lessons on Thursday and Friday, so the parents could then, when they got home, do it and turn the work in, and that counted for attendance. And, and the kids who weren't all able to come on, because many don't have internet, they had things ready for them to go home today. So for your situation, the videos would work perfectly. But I understand Bob too, where some people have to go to work and they have young children, they don't have anybody. But I'm thinking that we could brainstorm and come up with something quickly, but it just, I know this is quick timing.
Any other question or discussion? All right, thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
All right, next up we have new business.
First is the budget hearing and the reorganization meeting. I'd like to ask the board to set the budget hearing at 5:45 PM, the reorganization meeting at 6 PM on January 11th, 2021, here in Hampton Bend. That would be the second Monday of the month. That does fit within the law where we need to get a reorganization between the 5th and the 15th.
5:45, right? All right, any issues with that?
I still have one more question from
Oh,
the
sorry.
last subject, sorry.
All right.
If that's something we elect to do, we don't have to meet again before that. You can make that decision, correct? You would just
You all-
get consensus of the board.
Yes, say what the board's desire is, and then.
I just wanted to make sure we
Be
didn't-
incumbent upon us to work to get that organized.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Correct.
Just want to make sure we didn't have to squeeze a meeting in to get it done.
Right.
No, that, once it becomes a wish of the board, then we'll make it happen.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so then we'll go back to budget hearing and reorganization meeting. And everybody's fine with January 11th, starting at 5:45, budget meeting 6 o'clock. for the regular meeting. Wait, oh, I'm sorry, I'll entertain a motion to go ahead and set that, I suppose.
So moved.
Mr.
Second.
Raleigh, and second, Mr. Nipper. Mr. Dupre,
Mrs. Raleigh,
Yes.
Mr. Nipper,
Yes.
Mr. Fleming,
Yes.
Mr. Sizemore.
Yes.
Mrs. Wolfbart.
yes.
Next, if it's up to you all, if you'd like to, we started this last year. If not, this gets put into the president pro tem. But if you'd like, since it's the same board now that will be in session in January, there's no election to change board members. If you want to elect the board president for next year. We did that last year in December,
Yeah.
since it was an existing board. Generally speaking, if there would be a new board member, then that would wait and we would do that at the organization.
I have no problem. Did we do what we all?
All right, is there nomination?
Nominate Andy Fleming for president.
Is there a second? on the
Second.
nomination?
You don't need a second.
No, sorry, we'll do
Any
any
more-
other
Any
nominations.
other nominations? No,
All right, the chair will,
hearing none, I'm gonna ask for a roll call.
there we go. I haven't done this before. All right, well, hearing no other nominations, then we will have Mr. Dupre call the roll.
Mr. Fleming,
Abstain.
and Mr. Nipper,
Yes.
and Mrs. Raleigh,
Yes.
Mr. Sizemore.
Yes.
Mrs. Wolfbart.
Yes.
I knew that was coming.
So.
Listen,
So.
congratulations, Mr. Fleming. All right, and next up.
Item C is not an action item, it's just by law, we need to review the board policy 8510, which is the wellness policy. There's nothing changed since the last time the board had reviewed that, so if you have any questions or comments, be glad to answer them. If not, we, okay.
Anything for today before we move on? All right, next up, we'll move to the superintendent's portion of the agenda.
This is ask that the board approve leave of absence for Shannon O'Donnell from January 4th, 2021 through June 1st, 2021. She's currently on leave and would like to extend that for the remainder of the school year.
Any discussions or questions? Chair will entertain a motion. Mr. Sizemore.
Second.
And second, Mr. Fleming. Mr. Dupre.
Mr. Sizemore.
Yes.
Mr. Fleming.
Yes.
Mr. Nipper,
Yes.
Mrs. Raleigh,
Yes.
Mrs. Wolfbart.
Yes.
Next, I ask that the board approve the hiring of the supplement for 2021 school year. We did have first read back at the November 23rd board meeting, but it's 2 volunteers for the winter guard and the JV wrestling coach.
Any questions or discussion? Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mrs. Raleigh, for a second.
Second.
Mr. Fleming, Mr. Dupre.
Let's see, Mrs. Raleigh,
Yes.
Mr. Fleming,
Yes.
Mr. Nipper,
Yes.
Mr. Sizemore.
Yes.
Mrs. Wolfbart.
Yes.
Next, I ask the board to approve the hiring of Kaylee Bush, varsity assistant girls basketball. We did have the first read, once again, back on November 23rd.
Any questions or discussion? Chair will entertain a motion. Mr. Fleming,
Second.
second, Mr. Sizemore, Mr. Dupre.
Mr. Fleming,
Yes.
Mr. Sizemore,
Yes.
Mr. Nipper,
Yes.
Mrs. Raleigh,
Yes.
Mrs. Wolfbart.
Yes.
Next is the first read. It's varsity assistant coaches for the boys basketball team. That would be Rob Rose and Frankie Russell.
All right, any questions or discussions for bring that back? All right, bring that back.
Thank
All right, thank you. Next up, we have the treasurer portion of the agenda.
Before I start on my agenda items, just to make you aware, there apparently is an incredible amount of unemployment fraud in the state. We've been hit, not hit, but we've had claims come in for folks that are in their, in the district still working. And so we called to complain about it, and they said it's all over the state. So I don't know where they're getting their information. Of course, we have things on our website, but I'm pretty sure to file unemployment claim, you need a SOCH. So you're aware, if anybody says anything to you, you might be experiencing it if you work as I just want to share that with you because it was today, and I remember. So first up are the financial reports, which includes bank reconciliation and the summary reports, as well as check register and the investment portfolio.
Any questions for Mr. Dufresne? Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Nipper, and second, Mrs. Rowland.
Mr. Dipper?
Yes.
Mrs. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mr. Sizemore?
Yes.
Mrs. Wolf?
Yes.
And then next resolution was similar to last month, but I'm gonna take my mask off for this is a lot of words. So in the process of structuring our debt issuance, our underwriter did the metrics for our numbers for this district in order to get the state credit enhancement. And we were over on the amount of debt being issued. And so the way that we're addressing that is to get just under $10 million worth of debt issued called bank qualified, it's tax exempt. You're allowed to do up to 10 million per year. So if we do 10 million this year, I think we close on the 30th, and 10 million next year, that brings our overall debt down to 46 million. And the state credit enhancement for us means probably about 30 basis points, over 37.
Might want to explain what it
I'm
is.
sorry, 3/100%. Say that right. And the bank qualified issues are about 30/100% less. So over 37 years it adds up. And this also goes along with what we said when we said that we may not issue all the debt at one time. So no surprises, it's just that this this resolution was necessary because the one from last month said the 2021, and this was says 2020, and it's for notes, so.
It does definitely saves taxpayer money.
And also, for our benefit, for Finance Committee, the underwriter will be at our meeting on Wednesday, along with Matt Nolan, the county auditor.
Oh.
Matt's coming to explain our substitution millage and some other things, if you have questions. And then Brian Seathouse is coming to go through this with you so that you know what to expect going forward.
Which we've seen, talked to Brian like twice, right?
Yes,
Okay.
I think he might show up in person this time.
Okay.
If that's okay, then we're still in person.
We'll figure out what we want to do as a person, schedule wise.
All right, any questions or discussion? Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Sizemore, and second, Mr. Fleming. Mr. Dufresne.
Mr. Sizemore?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mr. Nipper?
Yes.
Mrs. Rowland?
Yes.
Ms. Wolfenbarger?
Yes,
Exciting.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have reports and comments from individual board members. Mr. Nipper?
Well, thanks everybody for coming. Appreciate everything everybody does, staff, faculty and everything. And I hear what you guys are saying about, I mean, we've been going through it down the blank. I mean, I have 8 people. I'm down to 3. We're having people come back. We've been able to hire, we've hired 2 people and they've lasted a month. It's too busy, it's too hectic, it's too stressful, and they're gone. So hopefully the third one's a charm and one's coming in. So I hear, but I also have to look from both sides, because I also know people that are on the other side of it. And hopefully we can make everything work for everybody. That would be the plan. And then also, I just want to send out my condolences to Randy Gross. His dad passed away on Saturday, and if anybody know Mr. Gross, he was integral part of Peabody football. He was there from the beginning and getting it all together. You see him on Friday Night Football, but I know it's a tough time for everybody. And just wanted to say we're thinking of it. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Mr. Nipper. Mrs. Rowland?
Thank you. First of all, and most importantly to me, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Mrs. Wolf. She has manned the helm for the entire board in an unprecedented time. She's handled every curveball with grace that's been thrown at her. And we truly appreciate you. No one realizes the hours that are spent, especially now. all for, education and for the benefit of our kids and our staff that we value so much. So Rachel, thank you so much. You've done a tremendous job. Secondly, I'd like to congratulate Andy. Man, I feel old when you got to be my board president. I never dreamed that someone I've seen in the halls of the high school, I graduated with my son, would be my colleague and on board with me, but you are a tremendous asset to this board, and I know you'll do a great job. So thank you. And thirdly, I'd like to say, Mr. Dufresne, wow, you have came in at a time when we're moving forward in the future here and brought so many techniques and ideas of borrowing and spending and utilizing state funds. You are a tremendous value to us, and we appreciate you.
Well, thank you.
Especially sitting on the finance committee where we see a firsthand look at some of the ideas, and there's tremendous laws and there's so many guidelines, and it's a feat, and I'm really impressed, and I appreciate your efforts as well.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
No, I really do. So I thank you. And second, I'd like to thank all of you for being here tonight. We hear each and every one of you. We value each and every one of you. You all do such a good job. You make it look easy. And we know it's not. But you guys always step up to the plate, and you guys went above and beyond the call of duty in an unprecedented year. I just said it previously, that, I feel like you're frontiers, and and you've just continued. I mean, just with the meals for kids all through summer. And, it's like the extra cleaning and sanitation that's required. It's, trying to get our kids here to school with no drivers and everybody just doing two jobs. And our teachers coming in every day to educate our kids and being taxed to the max. And as well as our administrators. Everyone has two jobs right now, unfortunately. We realize it, and we appreciate all of you. So thank you all. Done.
Thank you, Mrs. Rowley. Mrs. Crosby, we'll follow that up.
Well, thank you everyone for coming. I hear pretty regularly about the teachers missing planning periods from my own staff. I also know that there's principals covering classrooms and superintendents driving buses. And
That's right.
people going across above and beyond, doing everything they can to try to keep our kids in school. And I appreciate those efforts. I do want to thank Mrs. Wolfenberg for serving, and my nomination of Mr. Fleming was absolutely in no slight to her. It was actually doing her a favor. 1 year was enough, as most of us who have served in that role. It's good to get a break after that. So thank you, Ms. Wolfenberg, for that effort, and Mr. Fleming, congratulations, and look forward to working with you, continue to push this forward with all the good things we got going on in this district. So wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Yes, Merry Christmas.
You can't steal that now.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. Mr. Fleming?
Good evening. First of all, thank you, Rachel, for your leadership this year. I don't know if I could add a whole lot to it. You'd like to think that every once in a while you get a lot of little softball to knock out, but I don't think you got a single one this year. So just appreciate it. And like Lori said, like it was handled with grace every step of the way. So thank you. And secondly, I do appreciate the board's vote and confidence in me. This will be my first rodeo as the president, so I will be looking to each and every one of you for your sage wisdom and counsel as we go forward. So I appreciate that. And then, as you get to the end of December and you start to reflect on 2020 and what a year it has been. And honestly, the first thought that came to my mind was this was probably one of Franklin's finest years. In all honesty, I mean, if you think about what has been accomplished this year and all the challenges that has been thrown at this district and the triumphs we've had with building, we're talking about building. This is something that, Lori, Chris, you've been working at this for over a decade. try to bring this sort of thing home. You know, I mean, there were generational things that happened this year, and it was because of the community of Franklin coming together and determining what's important and what matters. So I think we can look forward to 2021 with excitement now. There's so many big things ahead of us, and Franklin's only going to get better. It's only going to get better. So, Teresa, Chuck, I do appreciate you coming this evening. You know, we're here for students, and we're also an employer, and it's important that we take care of our employees. So, coming here and bringing your petition is I understand, and I have family that's teaching here, you know, that work in this district, and I hear very similar things. Our entire staff has gone above and beyond nonstop, day after day for months. And people are wore out, so I definitely hear that. So we'll take that into consideration as we look into the holiday season. So I hope everyone has a very enjoyable winter break, Christmas, time to recharge, refresh, and 2021 can only get better. Thanks.
Mr. Fleming. First of all, thanks everybody for the kind words. I think you're giving me a little bit too much credit. Everybody here has had to deal with extra responsibilities and dealing with things that have come out of left field because of this pandemic. And I appreciate everybody supporting me and helping me and dealing with things that come up and dealing with them yourselves. I mean, as things come your way. So thank you very much. Appreciate that. Congratulations, of course, Mr. Fleming. I have absolutely no concerns with you taking over, and you're going to do a great job. And look forward to you sitting in the seat next month and seeing how you handle things and meet everybody. Congratulations. I want to thank everybody for being here. It's so hard to express our gratitude. You know, we say thank you every single meeting, and I don't want it to lose its meaning. But there's no other way to say it. I mean, we really truly appreciate what everybody has done. We are the recipients of that work as well, because we all have either family members in the district, we have kids in the district, grandkids in the district. So we know what's going on, even outside of just being a board member, because being a board member, you don't really see a whole lot when you're in it. You get to witness, firsthand what's going on and what everybody is doing. And we just appreciate it. We know that everybody's exhausted. I think everybody's just exhausted at this point in 2020 and dealing with the issues that have come up with the schools and quarantining and remote and distance and everything. Like Amy said, we hear you. We'll take all of that into consideration and think about what those issues you brought to our attention. And Dr. Sander, I'm going to congratulate you.
Yes.
You have finally
Oh my gosh.
gotten some recognition for what you do to go above and beyond for our district. Specifically, I think everybody's seen it as far as
I did.
the bus driving. Specifically, it was what came to light this past week. And
But not really.
I think I commented that this has been going on for years. It's just that somebody had asked the question, I think I saw Dr. Sander driving the bus. I was like, yes, absolutely, you did. And this isn't a new thing. So thank you very much. We can't say it enough. I'm just glad that other people have seen, that our superintendent is driving a bus. I don't know if there's any other place that I've seen that happen. I know I have some friends that are teachers in other districts. I've told you before, they couldn't believe that you're out reading children when you come in. So, it's just, I was just glad. So congratulations and thank you. Mr. Dufresne, I would echo what Mrs. Rowley said as well. Just thank you for coming in at a really crazy time and helping us get through this process. We couldn't have passed this bond issue if we weren't very clear with what we were doing and what we were asking for. And of course, you were a huge part of that. So thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, Madam President, I mean, and I would be remiss, I feel bad now, but Dr. Sander, you talk about somebody that's doing more than double duty. The man has taken care of everything that COVID is throwing at him. He's done his superintendent duties. He drives a bus and he ran a bond issue that succeeded in Ohio and have won by more than 60%, a larger margin than anyone in the state of Ohio. Kudos to you, Dr. Sander, we're lucky to have you. So, thank you. I have to say that. No, you.
All right, guys, well, that's all I have for, comments. Next up, we have an executive session for purposes of personnel. I'll read the full language: consideration of the appointment of employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official. Do I have a motion to enter into executive session? Mr. Fleming, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Sidemore, Mr. Dupre?
I apologize.
Oh, that's fine. That's a little fast.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mr. Sizemore?
Yes.
Mr. Nippert?
Yes.
Mrs. Raleigh?
Yes.
Mrs. Wolfenbarger?
Yes.
So,
All right.